Hey guys, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Brendan Smith with Batdorf and Bronson Coffee Roasters. Welcome to Coffee Talk. If you're just joining us, we really appreciate you being here. Today we're going to do a little home brewing demo using pour-over brewers. So I've got a few pour-over devices in front of me right here. I'm going to go through each of them, talk about what makes them special, what makes them different, why you might use one or the other, and then we're going to go through just a little bit of technique. All right? So if you're just joining us, please like and share the stream. We really appreciate you letting other people jump in. We're going to get into the brewing in just a minute, but somebody who shares the stream today is going to win a coffee brewer. So we're going to give away a pour-over brewer to somebody that shares the stream today. And you know what? How about this? We'll give away the brewer, we'll give you the filters you need for the brewer, and we will give you a bag of freshly roasted coffee. Sound like a good deal? Great. So share the stream. Also, if you're just joining us, we've got a coupon on screen just for you guys. It's Watch and Learn 10. We love that you're tuning in. We appreciate that you're hanging with us from your homes. So we want to give back a little bit. So you can save 10% at batdorfcoffee.com. Just use the code Watch and Learn 10. So feel free to shop. And let me know if you have any questions about brewing, questions about our coffees, anything at all. We'll be happy to answer it. And or one of our lovely assistants will be happy to answer any questions that you have, okay? And I'll check periodically. I am by myself today in the studio. My wife is with me sometimes, but today it's just me. We've got Josh, though, over in Olympia hanging out with us and answering questions. So we appreciate that. But I'm going to check on the phone from time to time just to see if anybody has questions, okay? Great. So let's get started. First things first, what is pour-over coffee? And why should you do pour-over coffee? The beautiful thing about, hey, what's up, buddy? We are live right now, exclamation point. Please join us. Cool, we got people messaging in about the broadcast. This is live, we're just having fun, just being loose. So pour-over brewers can come in many shapes and sizes. I'm going to show you a few examples. On your screen right now, let me make it so you can see me too, okay? On your screen right now, you can see 4 of them. Let's move the camera out a little. All right, sorry about that. So let me slide these down. So these are the ones we're going to talk about today. If you use one of these, shout it out in the comments, let us know. If you love one, if you've struggled with one, let me know. Tell me your story. I want to hear it. We're all about the coffee here, making it easy. This is my well-loved Chemex. You can see I made my coffee this morning, and I tried to rinse it, but didn't get it all. This is also one I've had for a lot of years. This is the Hario V60, kind of the probably the most classic pour-over dripper. Pour-over coffee started becoming a thing in the States, in the US, really only about 10 years ago. And the V60 was one of the early ones. This is by a company called Kalita. It's the Kalita Wave. So very different dripper. I'll even show you the inside so you can tell the difference. See how the V60 has an open hole and the swirly design, the ridges? The Kalita is more concentric circles with a flat bottom with 3 pinholes in it. It's also got a flux capacitor. Really, really nifty. And then last, this is what we kind of refer to as a Melita style pour-over, because Melita is famous for making these kind of pour-overs. So it's got that cone shape, the ridges, and the separate distinct walls that are kind of flat. All different brewers that can all do different things, and they share some benefits, right? The reason we do pour over coffee is because we control the entire brewing process. Most electric coffee makers that you would purchase for your home traditionally could not make an excellent cup of coffee. They couldn't get the water hot enough. The water needs to be somewhere around 200 degrees. A lot of these coffee makers fall short by like 20, 30 degrees. They're not getting the water hot enough, and if you don't get the water hot enough, it can't extract enough good coffee flavor in the time that you're brewing. And that's key. You want to be able to get all the good stuff out of the coffee without anything that you wouldn't want, okay? So that's one thing. Electric brewers sometimes can't hold enough coffee physically. We recommend somewhere around 60 grams of coffee for every liter of water. And if you check your home brewer, you may not be able to fit that much coffee in there without overflowing the brewer, and that's a problem. Today, there are some amazing electric brewers that can do an awesome job, but they're gonna set you back a little bit, right? They've come down in price, but certainly everything I've seen that can really do the job, it's gonna be north of $100. It used to be north of $300. So pour-overs or hand-brewed coffee were an awesome solution because you can take a kettle, heat it up to the right temperature, and then you can make the coffee by hand. It doesn't take any more time than it would take with an electric coffee maker. It just takes a little bit more care, a little bit more attention. You also have the ability to saturate the coffee. If you see a little dry coffee, you can move, put the water on the dry spot. All of that helps when you're trying to brew excellent coffee. So I'm going to give you guys just a second to share the stream because we are giving away an entire coffee brewing kit. It's going to include a brewer. It's going to include the filters. It's going to include a bag of coffee. So go ahead and share. Use that code. One day I'll get this point down. Watch and learn 10 on batdorfcoffee.com to save 10%. Like I said, I'm on my own today. So I'm going to walk over and grab some hot water, get some hot water going so that we can brew some coffee. So if you've got questions, put them in the comments. I'm going to take a look and see what your questions are while I do that, and I will be back in just a second. And one day we'll have the follow cam so you can just come with me, but I know you can hear me, so I'll keep talking. So if you're just joining us, share the stream at Batdorf. Share the stream because we're going to give away a brewer today. Maybe you can even hear it. I'm pouring some hot water right now. Really, really easy. You just need a few tools in your home to brew amazing coffee. And it doesn't have to cost that much money. It's really a very simple process. Let me grab one more thing. Okay. Hey guys, I'm back. So, thanks for hanging with me. Thank you for sharing the stream. If you have questions, let me know. Let's take a quick look. See if we have any questions. And if you've recently bought some coffee and you're loving it, let me know what it is. We have a new group, the Batdorf Boosters VIP Coffee Club. You can join that. We just started that just over a week ago. There's like 155 people that are in there, so jump in. It's a great place to talk coffee. Let's see. And happening right now, live. All right, I think we're rolling, hopefully. All right, I will check back on that momentarily. What did I do? Okay, so let's get back to the brewing, because that's what everyone's here for. So these are your brewers. These are the most popular ones. The first thing I want to talk about is what makes each brewer unique. what makes them different, and then we're going to talk about how they're the same, okay? So I'm going to start here with the Chemex. Chemex is actually an invention by a German-born American scientist out of New York. In the early 40s, he invented this, 41 or 43, I always get that wrong. And it's beautiful. It's classic. You can find it in some old Americana movies, TV shows, things of that nature. They've got one in the Museum of Modern Art. It's an awesome brewer, and you can see it's both the brewer and the server all in one. So that's really great. I love it because it produces a really clean cup. That has a lot to do with the filters. They're very thick. They filter out a lot of impurities. So if a French press isn't for you, this is kind of a little bit of the opposite. It's much, much cleaner, but it does get, the coffee does spend a lot of time in the suspension, so it pulls a lot out. Great brewer. Chemex I like to brew a little coarser. This one is the V60. To my mind, this can make probably the perfect cup of coffee. It is simple. It comes in all different configurations, sizes, materials. It is by a Japanese company called Hario. For this one, I grind a hair finer than I would for a Chemex, and I tend to pour a little bit slower. So V60, it's not difficult to do. It just has a little bit of control. So on a Chemex, I might fill the vessel up a little bit sooner. The V60, I'm going to be a bit more deliberate with my pour, although with a little technique, you can overcome a lot of the challenges that many people face with a V60. So that's a great brewer. Kalita Wave. Again, Kalita Wave just has the 3 holes in it. Really neat brewer. Obviously, this is great for camping. It's pretty much unbreakable. It's just this metal kind of aluminum, I think, tin, I don't know. Really simple brewer. It has a flat bottom, which helps with a more even extraction. So with the flat bottom, it's easier for all the coffee to kind of get saturated at the same time. Whereas with a bottom that comes to a cone, you need to keep the coffee a little lower in the cone than you do if it's a flat bottom. You do want to fill this up in pulses and kind of slowly, but if you do it right, it's a really simple brewer. I find I need less manual manipulation with the Kalita Wave. With the Hario, I want to stir it. I swirl the vessel a little bit to really incorporate. With the Kalita, I tend to just fill up slowly in batches, just bit by bit by bit, and kind of leave it alone. One tip that I can give you with all manual pour is the first 2/3 of your brewing has all the goodness. So one thing you can do if you're getting a little bit of a bitter cup, so here's a tip, is pull the brew early. So what I might do is I might continue to pour until I've got the amount of coffee that I want down below, and then I'm going to pull it before it completely drains so that I don't get some of those bitter notes in my coffee. You can also pull it even earlier than that and dilute with just a little hot water right out of your kettle. So there's no reason you can't. You do that, again, because the coffee gives up all the goodness in maybe the first 2/3 of that brew cycle. So if you're getting a slightly bitter cup, that's a good way to overcome that. Then lastly, the Melita style has been around for a long time. This is another good one. It's got a small hole, so this is going to slow down the drain no matter what. So on something where it can drain kind of quickly, because there's an open hole, a lot of times you either need a thick filter like the Chemex, or you need to pour slowly like the V60. This one, it's gonna slow it down, which gives you the chance to get better extraction along the way, but it maybe gives you a hair less control because it's gonna pour the way it's gonna pour no matter what with that small hole. It's a great brewer though, it's been around, it's a classic for a reason. What is similar about all of these brewers is that a little bit of good technique goes a long way. So for me, that means fresh coffee. Today, I'm using Las Brisas. This is our new Colombia. It is from Edward Giraldo, who is the grower, so we know the gentleman that is growing the coffee. Tasting notes are citrus, cocoa, and honey. This is an amazing coffee. It's beautiful, it's bright, it's got that cocoa-y kind of finish to it. The honey sweetness, like this dark sweetness that's rich and full, but it still feels like a lighter coffee to me where I could drink it all day. I don't get tired of it, you know? So I love Las Brisas. It's a staff favorite. And the first thing I want to pay attention to is using freshly roasted coffee. All our coffee is roasted to order. Anything you order today, we roast the next roasting day, which is tomorrow, and we would ship it to you tomorrow. Don't forget the coupon code on screen, 10% off. And then besides it being fresh, delicious, excellent coffee, I want to grind it right before I brew it. So I just ground this coffee. We have the Baratza Encore grinder. If you don't have a grinder, amazing investment. A small amount of money, relatively speaking, for something that I've had my Baratza grinder for 10 years. Many other people can speak to the same thing. Company's amazing. They're great about parts. They're great about helping you out. But I haven't need to use any of that. Honestly, my burrs are doing great. So check that out if you need a coffee grinder. And of course, we have our Airscape containers, which you can buy as well, that keep stuff nice and airtight. Little thing in there. Pull it out. Push it in. It pushes all the air out. Close it, and you can't pull it out. It's nice and secure. Get these on our website. If you keep your coffee in airtight containment, away from heat, light, and moisture, not your fridge, not your freezer, just in the cupboard, in something like this that's really pushed the air out, it's going to last a lot longer. We did an experiment a few weeks ago. We took coffee that was 3 weeks off roast, 3 or 4 weeks off roast, in a bag that was left open, kind of like if you just kind of open it and then you maybe loosely fold it and stick it on your kitchen counter, versus 5-month-old coffee, which we do not recommend, even if that's what you find in the grocery store. We believe fresh is the way to go. Have your coffee within a few weeks of roast. But I took some of our coffee that was 5 months off roast, but left completely sealed. And let me tell you, the 5-month-old coffee that was completely sealed beat the pants off of the 4-week-old coffee that was left kind of casually opened on a kitchen counter. So definitely seal up your coffee. It will mean it'll stay fresher a lot longer. So those tips apply to everything. What questions do you guys have? Hit me up if you have any questions. Let's take a look here. And we're going to brew some coffee. And don't forget, we're going to give away a whole system to somebody that is tuned in right now. So let's look at this live stream going on. There we go. Awesome. Thank you, Walt. Thank you, Scott. Erica, welcome. Grind settings on the Encore for the V60. If you look up, Baratza has grind setting charts specifically for different brewers, including the V60. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. Give me 1 second. That's a good question. So if you look up Baratza grinder settings, now grind settings are not a they're not a static thing, okay? So don't be fooled into thinking they're set it and forget it, but let me see if I can share this with you. All kinds of fun. So let's pull this up. Okay, so you should be seeing the grind settings on screen now. If you look for the V60 on the Encore, Baratza recommends grind setting 15. That's going to be as opposed to the Chemex where they have a 20, right? I can tell you personally, I go a little finer than a 20. So you've really got to dial it into your taste. If your coffee isn't perfect, the first thing you should try is just tweaking that grind setting a click or two. If you're not getting enough out of it, maybe make it a little bit finer. If it's a little muddy, go a little bit coarser. Adjusting the grind setting will more often fix your brewing problems than just about anything else. But hopefully that's a little bit of a help for you. All right. Okay, so good question. Keep the questions coming. Appreciate everybody. Yeah, Walt just got Las Brisas. That's an awesome, awesome coffee. My grind on my Chemex is going to be a little bit coarser. So Baratza settings were 20, a 15, right? Let me put it where you can see it again, a 20, a 15. And for each brewer, I'm going to adjust slightly different grind settings, but I'm going to tweak them to my liking. Traditional wisdom has been a Chemex is very coarse. More often than not, I found a little bit finer than that very, very coarse setting tends to do a great job. So I kind of go that way. So I'm just going to brew a little bit of coffee real quick for you. Let me move my little setup out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to brew in my Chemex here. I did grind some coffee for both the Chemex and the V60, and I'll show you the difference. They're pretty close. They're pretty close. Like I have to look twice to tell which one's which. So more often than not, I've found, let me put it, you can see me too. Hey friends. I found that by grinding somewhere in that either just coarse of medium or just finer than medium, you're usually in the right range. So the first thing I'm going to do with any coffee is I'm going to pour a little hot water. And I do that for two reasons. One is because I'm told that you may get some of the paper taste in the cup. To be honest, I don't taste it, and others don't as well. However, why risk it, kids? Number two, and more importantly, I rinse to warm the vessel. Anything that you're brewing in that gets hot has the potential to steal the water's heat. We want all that heat to go into our coffee. Remember how we said electric brewers do a poor job of brewing because they don't get hot enough and they don't maintain that temperature? If you use a cold vessel to brew in, that vessel's going to get hot. And then the water won't be hot enough to extract your coffee optimally. So preheat everything. That's a tip. It doesn't matter how you're brewing. Preheat everything if you can, and you'll get a better result. So I'm always going to preheat. I also like the way it sort of allows my filter to conform to my vessel. So there's several reasons to do it. Even if you don't think that there's a paper taste issue, it's still worth not skipping that step. So I'm going to discard that water, my maybe paper. Should I drink this? Let me know if I should drink the water and tell you if it tastes like paper. I love you guys, so I'm willing to do things. This is like Fear Factor, Batdorf edition, Brendan edition, which is to say it's not very scary, but it's a little scary. All right, so I'm going to take my coffee. Ratio is really important. Remember, we said your home brewer sometimes can't even physically hold enough coffee. Pour-over brewers are awesome because you can put the right amount of coffee, you can put water that's hot enough. The only downside here is that you can't make coffee for Thanksgiving morning in one shot in a pour over. Your Chemex holds a little bit more than some of the other ones, but I don't recommend making enough coffee to fill this bad boy up. The more coffee that you make at one time, the harder it is to get even extraction. If you're making smaller amounts, and this includes in your electric brewers, you'll have a better chance of getting good extraction. Even in my Tecton Mocha Master at home, I'm pulling the lid off that thing and stirring the grounds up to try to really make that extraction even. So keep that in mind. So on this Chemex, I'm putting it on my scale. I'm zeroing out my scale. Let's slide these bad boys over. By the way, if you want, we've got several of these brewers available on our website, and you can use the 10% code to save 10% on the brewer. Also, if you buy a bag of our Dancing Goats blend with your brewer is a hard word to say over and over again, I've just learned. If you buy our Dancing Goats blend with your Chemex, you'll automatically get 25% off the coffee in the cart. And that's one of our favorite coffees, certainly our most popular blend. We love it. All right, so I'm going to pour the coffee in here, 25 grams of coffee. I'm going to put 400 grams or milliliters, which weigh the same on my scale, in here. And that is a 16-to-1 ratio, right? You can tweak that a little bit to your liking. You want to go 14-to-1, 15-to-1, 17-to-1, 18-to-1. Just keep it in somewhere in that general range. Again, 60 grams for every liter is a good way to think about it as well. So now we're going to, I usually set a timer, but you know what? We may not do that at home. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pour twice as much water on the coffee as I put in here to start with. So I put 25. I'm going to shoot for 50. I'm definitely not going to go over 75, which would be 3 times as much. But I want to get all of the coffee so it's just barely wet. So I just want to wet this coffee. I wish I could show you. Maybe we'll get the overhead camera next time when our budget increases. Anyway, the reason I'm doing that is this. It's really simple. When you roast coffee, the coffee roasting process produces CO2. It's a byproduct, right? And that gas gets trapped in the freshly roasted coffee, which is why you shouldn't brew coffee that was just roasted, not the same day, right? Coffee's going to improve for about 5 days until it hits that peak, and then you want to drink it within, say, 3 weeks or so of roast for optimal freshness. Just store it in an airtight container the whole time, and you'll keep it really fresh. The CO2 is activated and released in the presence of water. So when you pour hot water onto fresh coffee, it bubbles. That's CO2 escaping, which is good because we want it kind of out of the way. It doesn't contribute to our brew. However, if we were to dump all the water at once and sort of flood the coffee with water, what would happen is that CO2 wouldn't be able to escape. And the trapped gas would actually act as a barrier blocking the water's access to the coffee. And we would get under-extracted coffee. So we pour a little on there, we give it 30 to 45 seconds, we let it bubble, and then we start brewing. That is called blooming your coffee. And you can even do that in an electric coffee maker if yours gives you access to stop the brew or to stop it from draining. Mine has a little switch that will just kind of keep it from draining. Go ahead and let it have that bloom. The Bonavita one we sell on our website is a great one. I believe on that one, you can hold the button for like 3 seconds or something like that, and it'll give you kind of a bloom period where it pulses the water, waits 30 seconds, and then continues the process. Good tip to do. Okay. I'm not resetting my scale. I'm adding to the weight that's already in there, and I'm going to go up to 400. You can do this. I usually do this in 3 pours. Nice and even, concentric circles. I'm going to start by pouring up to 300. All the way up. I'm going to fill most of my cone. Again, the Chemex has a thick filter, so it's going to hold that water back a little bit longer. I think of it as a hybrid between like a French press, which is full immersion, and something like the Hario V60, which is a straight pour-through. Say hi to our friend Chris from the Penny Hoarder, who's joining us filming. No, that's fine, man. If you don't follow the Penny Hoarder, follow them. There'll be a little story about what we're doing today, so we appreciate them. So now I've got the 300 grams in. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the vessel by the throat, and I'm going to give it a little swirl. Just a little swirl in action, maybe the other way just for good measure. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to allow all the coffee into the bed. All the coffee should be in the bed so that the water has equal access to all of it. This tip applies also to your V60. So Walt, you want to swirl that V60, that's going to give you a similar result. Really, we just want as flat a bed as possible, knowing that all the coffee is evenly extracted. Now we let it drain down a little bit. We don't have to wait till it's all the way done, but when I let it go for a bit, because again, I want to give this water as much access to the coffee as possible, I'm going to finish up with my last 100 grams. Or milliliters. Again, they weigh the same on the scale, so you don't have to change it. And that's it. Now, you could do one little swirl for good measure, but I'm going to leave it alone because now I don't want to push the coffee grounds around. I want them all to sort of settle down flat. And I'll show you this after it's done draining. Again, if you wanted to pull this at 350, and pour 50 grams of hot water in, that would be one way of sort of avoiding any unpleasant notes that might come out at the very end. I find the Chemex cleans things up so nicely that I don't usually do that, but you absolutely can, and depending upon the coffee, you may like to. Experiment at home and tell me what you did. Don't forget to join our Batdorf Boosters VIP Coffee Club. We are doing discounts and specials and giveaways there. So we would love you to join us. And if you're sharing the stream, we're going to give away a complete brewing system to somebody. All you have to do is share the stream today, and you could be the winner of one of these pour-overs with the filters and some coffee to get you started. Everybody else, batdorfcoffee.com, 10% off your entire order using the code WatchAndLearn10. Let me look and see if we've got any more questions. And we'll taste some coffee. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. I'm going to go to the VIP Coffee Club and see if anybody's in there hanging out with us. All right. I see some comments in there. Cool. Thank you, Eric, 1941. I was this close to 41, 43, 41. Yes, yes. Chemex is amazing. Love it. Love it. This is just draining out. And let me grab that cup. Hang on one second. One of our lovely diner mugs available at batdorfcoffee.com. Nice and pre-warmed because I had this on the espresso machine. By the way, if you didn't see, Josh and Ben had an awesome video on espresso at home this morning that's posted to our pages, so check that out. All right, let's pull up this. See if I can see any other. Oh, there we go. Awesome. Hey, Linda. I don't know what tip you thanked me for, but you're welcome. Lillian, Walt, Ruth, they want me to drink the water. All right, I'll do it. I don't care. Eric loves his diner mug. I'm going to keep the chat up. I don't need to see my face. I'm going to keep the chat up for a minute. So if you chat now, I can see it. All right, guys, let's do it. This is my filter paper water. Maybe it doesn't taste terrible. They do a pretty good job with these filters. It doesn't taste like paper to me. It's that sort of unpleasant level of warm for water, though. So hard to say. But, again, regardless of whether it's papery, and I will say if you're using the natural fiber papers, if you're using off-brand papers, you may have a different experience, right? Chemex makes a great job, does a great job, though, with their papers. I want to show you a really quick view of the bed of coffee. So let me switch here to where I can't see Mythbusters. You're welcome, Scott. Oh, I think I switched to, there we go. I'm going to show you this bed of coffee. Do you see how flat that is, how even that is? Look at that. That is what you're looking for. That tells me that all of the coffee got equal treatment. It all received the same extraction, the same access to water as all the rest of it did. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful. Okay, let me go back to the comments. And I'm going to pour some coffee. You will notice it more with a brown filter. Eric is right. But again, there's two other reasons to do it. It's nice to have the filter paper attached to the vessel. Doesn't move around as much. And it's also imperative that you have a hot brewer. I'm going to pour myself a little coffee. And I wish you could be with me. I'm looking forward to the days when I can invite you into my space, into all of our spaces, our cafes. Yeah, the little swirl. I do it without thinking about it, right? The little swirl just pulling. I think of it as blending the entire extraction. This, again, falls under the, it doesn't hurt, and I like it. It's part of my ritual. Sometimes if I'm in the kitchen, I hold it up to the sunlight and admire it for its beauty. This is an amazing cup, guys. It's clean, it's balanced, it's sweet. I think Las Brisas never tastes better than it does right now. By the way, our friends at Chemex are understandably shut down right now. So they are not manufacturing at the moment, taking a little break to take care of the health and safety of their team. So Chemex filters have been hard to find. We were out for a minute, but we are back in stock. So if you need a Chemex and you need to buy a box of filters, you can get them, again, from our website. Let me put it back up so I can see you, so I can see me. batdorfcoffee.com. You can buy, and if you buy the Chemex and a bag of our dancing goats, you'll get 25% off the coffee. Otherwise, buy the Las Brisas is a great one. You can save 10% on the entire purchase. Watch and Learn 10, and then post a picture in the Batdorf Boosters group. We love sharing coffee. We love making memories with you. We appreciate you tuning in. Josh and Ben are on every morning, 9 a.m. if you're on the West Coast, noon if you're in the Eastern time zone, somewhere in between for everyone else. So please tune in for that. They've got some exciting things coming up. On Saturday at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, I will be back on with a French press tutorial. If you've wanted to learn how to French press, I'm going to show you a couple of different styles of French press, a couple of different brew methods, a couple of tips and tricks, not trips and ticks. That's a totally different situation. That's called a bad camping experience. Tips and tricks on how to French press like a pro. It's kind of old school. It's been eschewed, is that the right word? By coffee nerds worldwide in recent years, but it's making a comeback because it has a lot of power. There's a lot you can do with a French press, and it's worth exploring. So Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, I'll be back French pressing with you guys, giving away more stuff, having more fun. Again, thank you. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time. Cue the outro. Thanks, guys.